We've all done it. Sent that text, posted that photo, made that comment. And then the wait. That subtle, almost imperceptible tension as we refresh, scroll, or just keep one eye on our phone. What are we waiting for? A reply, a like, heart emoji. It's a tiny, universal ritual, a digital heartbeat of expectation. But what if this seemingly innocent desire for connection is actually a symptom of a deeper, far more pervasive game we're all playing, one that dictates our worth and shapes our relationships in ways we rarely acknowledge? For most of us, this pursuit of external approval feels natural, even healthy. We're told from a young age that being liked, being accepted, is crucial. From the schoolyard to the workplace, our social wiring screams for affirmation. Then came social media, supercharging this ancient human drive. Validation wasn't just a feeling. It was a quantifiable metric: likes, comments, shares. We conflated attention with genuine value, believing that the more eyes on us, the more liked our curated lives appeared, the more intrinsically worthy we must be. We convinced ourselves our emotional equilibrium depended on this steady stream of external affirmation, mistaking an ego boost for true self-esteem. But this belief, this illusion, has a profound cost. The truth is, while the desire for belonging is innate, how we seek validation in modern society has morphed into something far more intricate, a hidden mechanism driven by attention, investment imbalance, and perceived value. Think about it. When you chase approval, you are, in essence, investing emotional energy, your sense of self-worth, into another person's reaction. You cede a piece of your internal authority to their judgment. This creates an immediate power dynamic. The person whose approval you seek implicitly gains leverage. Their attention, their affirmation becomes a commodity you earn. And it's not just about positive attention. Sometimes even negative attention, if it confirms our existence, our relevance, can be a perverse form of validation. It proves we matter enough to elicit a response. This isn't just about self-esteem. It's about social currency. We instinctively seek validation from those we perceive as having higher status, desirability, or influence because their endorsement feels like a public upgrade to our own perceived value. Conversely, giving validation strategically can be a subtle way to maintain control. This invisible game plays out in 1,000 subtle interactions daily, often without our conscious awareness, creating a gap between what we think we're doing and the underlying psychological reality. Consider a common scenario: a disagreement with a friend or partner. You've expressed an opinion, taken a stand, and the other person seems displeased. What's your instinct? Often it's to over-explain, to justify, or to seek reassurance. The hidden signal is profound. Please confirm I'm not wrong. I'm still worthy of your affection. You're attempting to control their perception, not resolve conflict, but to soothe your own anxiety. The psychological effect is fleeting relief if validation is granted. But it's a dangerous cycle. Teaching you external reassurance is the primary path to inner calm, rather than trusting your own judgment. The consequence: it erodes autonomy, placing an undue emotional burden on the other person, leading to resentment, exhaustion, or subtle withdrawal. An alternative: state your perspective clearly, allow for disagreement without internalizing it as a personal failing, and trust your worth isn't contingent on someone else's immediate approval. Sit with the discomfort of uncertainty, knowing authentic connection thrives on mutual respect. Or think about the relentless curation of an online persona. Every picture, every caption, meticulously crafted. The hidden signal isn't just look at what I did, but rather look at my perfect life, validate my choices, confirm I am enviable. It's a plea for aspirational approval, a desperate attempt to gather evidence you are living a life worth celebrating. Even if that evidence is a constructed mirage, the psychological effect is a transient ego boost, a small dopamine hit from each like or comment. But beneath that brief high often lies increased anxiety, comparison, and a pervasive feeling of inauthenticity. Your self becomes inextricably tied to this performance, creating constant pressure to maintain the illusion. The consequence is deepening alienation from your true self. You compare your raw reality to others' polished highlight reels, leading to chronic dissatisfaction and superficial connections. You mistake fleeting approval for genuine recognition, blurring the crucial line between who you are and who you pretend to be. The alternative is authenticity. Share moments not for external applause, but for genuine connection. Understand that true belonging comes from shared vulnerability, not from a flawless facade, and that social media is a tool, not a mirror for self-worth. This invisible game extends even into our most intimate relationships. How many of us unconsciously stay in partnerships clearly unsatisfying, even draining, purely for the external validation they provide? The hidden signal is often, I need this relationship to validate my identity as loved, stable, or successful, or to simply avoid the perceived shame of being alone. We might fear the judgment of friends, family, or society, preferring the familiar discomfort of a known dynamic to the daunting uncertainty of a new independent course. The psychological effect is a short-term sense of stability, a temporary reprieve from social discomfort. But the long-term consequence is devastating emotional decay, suppression of your true self, and slow-burning resentment. You define yourself by external perception, not internal fulfillment. This leads to missed opportunities for genuine connection, an erosion of self-respect, and perpetual unhappiness. The alternative, prioritize your internal alignment and authentic happiness over external approval. Trust your intuition, even when difficult, recognizing that temporary discomfort for long-term authenticity is a fundamental act of self-honor. The profound shift, then, isn't about eradicating the human desire to be liked. That's an inherent part of our social programming. Instead, it's about fundamentally changing the source of our self-worth. It's moving from an external locus of control to an internal one. The question ceases to be, am I good enough for them? Do they approve? And transforms into, am I living in alignment with my own values? Is this situation, this person, this choice good enough for me? It's about understanding that others' reactions are their reactions, shaped by their experiences, biases, needs. They are not ultimate truths about you. This empowers you to occupy your own position of self-authority. When you understand the invisible validation game, you stop being a pawn. You begin to recognize subtle cues, the leaning in for approval, the pulling away when it's not immediately granted, not as indicators of your own worth, but as signals of a dynamic you can choose to participate in differently. This isn't a journey into isolation. It's a journey into authentic connection, built on a foundation of self-respect rather than a fragile house of cards constructed from external praise. So what can you do, starting today? In the next 24 to 48 hours, I challenge you to simply observe the invisible validation game at play in your own life. When you feel that familiar urge to check your phone after a text, to scroll for likes after a post, to send that extra explanatory message, just pause. Don't act on it immediately. Instead, ask yourself, what am I really seeking in this moment? What emotion am I trying to soothe or reinforce with external approval? Just observe the impulse for a full minute. Don't judge it, just notice it. This simple act of conscious observation creates a tiny yet powerful space between impulse and action, a space where self-awareness can begin to grow, and where you can start reclaiming your inherent worth from the elusive grasp of external validation.